Welcome back to part number 2 of What If Ahsoka and Rex Escaped with Maul. Thank you to those of you who watched the first part. To recap what happened in that part, if you haven't seen it, Ahsoka and Rex formed an alliance with Maul right after escaping Order 66, then joined Bail Organa. Now we join Ahsoka as she tries to rescue Force sensitives back on her former home of Coruscant. As the former Jedi padawan entered Imperial territory, the skies above Coruscant were eerily empty, and Ahsoka could sense she was walking into a trap. She had been warned by Senator Bail Organa about the beacon that had been previously transmitted from the Jedi Temple before Obi-Wan had recoded it, but nothing could have prepared her for the trail of destruction that Order 66 had caused. Palpatine's new regime was repairing the old Jedi Temple and the complex around it, but echoes of pain and death could be felt in the Force. Ahsoka landed by an obscure warehouse in one of the lower levels of Coruscant's underworld and placed her cowl over her head, evading the eyes of anyone who could be an enemy. Suddenly, her attempts of stealth appeared to be scuppered as she hears her name from across the area. Ahsoka leapt to silence the cries, but discovered it was the reckless Trace Martez. The mechanic and her sister Rafa had not been immune to the war above ground, and they were eager to help Ahsoka if she was in any danger. Ahsoka had to safely reach the surface, and graciously took her speeder that she had left behind, finding several potentially useful modifications had been attached to it. The ascent out of the underworld seemed an eternity, and along the way, she saw the first signs of the alien population beginning to feel the strain of the new empire, and she vowed to report the cruelty back to the rebellion. The former Jedi soon saw Imperial patrols swarming across the area, and knew that the front entrance was well fortified. She had not been the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker for nothing though, and she swooped vertically to the Council Tower to avoid the searchlights, then hovered by the circle of windows. Igniting her lightsabers, the room was lit in a blue glow, but she soon wished she had never arrived as the bodies of younglings were scattered across the floor. She tried to look for any sign of life in the chamber, but the only pulse she could feel was her own, and she moved to the lower levels. The other floors were equally bloodstained, this time with knights, masters and Padawan learners as well, and Ahsoka crept towards the security station at the base of the High Council Tower. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she looked through the security recordings to discover the horrible truth that Anakin had turned to the dark side and killed all of the Jedi. As she watched Anakin becoming anointed as Vader under the command of Palpatine, she had had enough and obliterated the holotable with her lightsabers before breathing heavily as her release of anger. Ahsoka had to regain her focus on her mission, next taking a trip to the Jedi Archives, where she could sense something brighter in the Force, and walked to the first hall. From behind one of the doors, the scared cries of younglings could be heard, and Ahsoka cautiously opened the wooden doors. She is immediately engulfed by most of the younglings, with whom she had performed the gathering on the planet of Ilum. However, Katuni was gravely injured, suffering from the blaster fire of the clone troopers, and Ahsoka begins to heal her wounds. The Jedi Initiate finally got to her feet, and together they tried to reach the temple hangar, but found it was destroyed. With no choice, Ahsoka goes to guide them up to her speeder on the tallest spire, but found a patrol transport surrounding it, and they hid behind the council chairs. Just as they were about to drag the speeder into their possession, the patrol ship exploded as the Silver Angel burst into view and rescued the Force sensitives from their peril. The Martez sisters quickly flew back to their workshop, and Ahsoka left her speeder with them, then took the Jedi back to Bail Organa in a T6 shuttle. The rebel leader is pleased with Ahsoka's efforts, and Hondo is reunited with the younglings again. For the time being, the Jedi would not partake in rebel missions, as Ahsoka next takes them to the planet of Dagobah and to the new home of Grandmaster Yoda. The Jedi had planned to reside alone, but the persistence of the Jedi Initiates gave the light hope, and together they continued their training alongside Ahsoka until she is requested by Senator Organa once again. Now much more wiser and powerful, Ahsoka entered the command base of the Rebel Alliance and found her old Captain Rex alongside Gregor and Wolf, and they wanted her help to search for even more clone troopers. Ahsoka gladly accepted the invitation, eager to put her new skills to the test, not knowing that the journey would be a most perilous mission of her time in the Rebel Alliance. That is it for part 2 of What If Ahsoka and Rex Escaped with Maul. If you'd like to see a part 3 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.